Hello everyone and welcome to yet another Coding in Seal. I'm Johnny, nice to see all of you, all your beautiful faces. Say hi in the chat if you're here. Today we're gonna establish and reinforce our learnings from the latest episode we finally produced and published on YouTube. It's the SvelteKit Endpoints episode. Finally that one is out. The reception has been good so far, people have been viewing it. I'm proud of how it has come off, so have a look if you haven't. That's alright too. We'll also be building up on an app that we've been creating for quite a while on the stream and was showcased in that video. That app is called Techie Cat. So it's an app to share our ideas for free and inspire other fellow creators and tech enthusiasts. So if you have a weekend to spare and you want to learn some tech, maybe you'll have a scan on all of the ideas that are available here. And that's the thing you'll try to build, try to shoehorn the tech you want to learn into one of those ideas, and you come off the weekend knowing something more, something fresh. So from the live app, from the SvelteKit Endpoints video where we left things there wasn't a functionality to add a star. So now I'm able to star these ideas, star my favorites, and I can do that because I'm logged in. We've integrated with the Supabase auth. Supabase is an auth and database solution that can do quite a few cool things. And we've been using it the past few weeks in these streams. So now I have a profile page, can't really do much. I can log out and log back in, but most of all, I can star these ideas that we got here. And the point of this episode today will be to have an admin dashboard area where we can actually submit new ideas or edit the ones that we have already. And that's more meant to give us the ability to change spelling mistakes or change icons or whatever else, and not so much do the thing that Twitter fears people are gonna do, where they have a trending tweet and then they edit it and it's something completely different. We won't really worry about this. We trust that our users and the people watching are quite honorable ones. A cool thing I've done off stream, because I finished the stream, then I was like, oh, of course, that's how it works. The whole thing is based on cookies authentication. So if I go into my application tab, you see that we have the session cookie and the refresh session cookie, and that's the thing that keeps us logged in. The session cookie does expire in the amount of time that we've set in our Supabase dashboard, but the refresh session expires much later. So if I come back to this app after a week, this session cookie will have expired, and the backend in our SvelteKit app is going to use the refresh session token to create a new session for us and keep us logged in without us having to go through the login flow. So I believe I fixed how this works, and we'll see live, I guess, if that is gonna work out. All right, we're still logged in and we're getting a new session cookie set that expires in the amount of time that we've set in the Supabase app dashboard, and an even longer expiring refresh session cookie. So when this expires again, we can keep going through this. So long as you keep visiting this app every 2 weeks, you'll always be logged in. No frustration with having to go through the login flow again. And if we move over to the code, we'll probably not be talking too much about this, but just because it was a sticking point at the end of the last stream, what happened there was that we were finally correct in that we needed to set some set cookie headers in the end, but instead of setting a single set cookie header with the session cookie, comma, the refresh cookie, I think I was just setting the set cookie header twice, kinda like this, I guess. Which, unlike some other helper methods, here this will override your set cookie header method, your set cookie header, and will only leave the session cookie inside or not the refresh cookie. Anyway, that was the thing that was breaking the refresh cookie functionality. But that's by the by. Today we'll be doing something else. Today we'll have a dashboard where we can add new ideas and edit the ones we have already. And I have the rough agenda here. We've went through the recap, what we've done so far. Hey, Mr. Namazu. And I will show our main layout in just a bit. We may create a dashboard layout for our dashboard page to inherit. Then we'll create an ideas list again, which will reinforce the learnings we had from the Endpoints episode as well. And then go into what is CRUD. Those of people who want to be able to do CRUD, I guess there are recruiters that are saying, oh, you know how to do CRUD and you're strong at CRUD, or you hear it in engineering talks. So not to keep you in suspense, it stands for create, retrieve, update, and delete, which are the most common operations you do with data. So you want to see all of them and retrieve information about a resource. You want to create new versions of that resource or create new resources in that space. You want to update existing resources, and you want to delete them. And the most usual way to do that is by having a dashboard where you can have a list view and a detailed view, which is what we're going to be building today. And indeed, we will be focusing in on an individual idea, so in a form, which we can start changing the inputs there, clicking a big button, and then it will update the idea. Then we'll have another big button with another big form to create a new idea, and then we'll have a trash can icon or something, and maybe an alert model to delete that idea. And a bonus for all of this, the dashboard section we're going to be creating. For now, it is to start with, it's going to be for authenticated users because we're going to need your auth profile to do this. But we could even protect it against specific user roles. So we may make up a few roles. Maybe you are a regular user, but maybe you are a contributor or above. And we'd only want the dashboard, or we'd only want the ability to create new ideas to be for the contributors. All right, that's pretty much it. I will use my timer again to break up these sections in like 25 minutes of coding and still participate in it, of course, and 5 minutes of taking a break, because I think that definitely helps. I'm sweating already. I'm coming to you live from Urosti, Barcelona, and this timer is gonna help tremendously to keep me hydrated and sane. Well, as sane as I can be, let's be honest. Cool, let's keep that open. And show off our existing layout. In SvelteKit, as a refresher, there are components that are called layouts. And whenever you hit any route that's scoped on a similar level than the layout that you have, it's a special file called __layout.svelte. The other routes will be nested within the slot that you've defined in your layout. So our main layout here has some magic to enable for our theming functionality. As a reminder, we can switch between dark and light mode. And if we haven't picked either, this functionality we have with the theming will default to your desktop setting, to your iOS OS, your operating system setting. So if you are a dark mode friend, then you start on dark mode even if you haven't interacted with this. Layout is enabling this logic to put our app inside this container so we can hit it with our Tailwind dark classes if we wish, even though we actually implement the theming functionality with CSS variables. And app content is not doing much. It's just an implementation detail to allow the Tailwind style dark theme scoping to work. But then this is the important stuff. Our layout has a header always, it has a footer always, and then it actually puts the rest of the route page inside this slot inside a main element that has a few things to ensure that it gets contained correctly. So any route will have this top section with the header and the toggle. Any route will have this footer, but the routes themselves have unique content for what goes between. That's the slot. So in the index route, we have all of this. In the ideas, we have this list of ideas. In the about page, we have just a few things about this app. And the profile page, the user page, has this information and button to log out. And Mr. Namazu coming from Germany. Yeah, it is indeed super roasty here. I hear even in the UK where I used to live is super hot this weekend. And at least here we have better access to nice pools, and we have the Barceloneta beach, which I wouldn't swim in, but it's nice to walk past, I guess, and feel a bit of breeze. All right, so that's our existing layout. Initially, I was thinking that for our dashboard, we can have like a little subsection of where we're at, but maybe we'll do that in the end to do the re-establishing of how endpoints work first. So the idea today is that we'll have dashboard routes, and we'll only have dashboard ideas route. Maybe in the future this app will also have like fun games or something. I don't really know, but let's not overthink this. Let's just make our dashboard be a dashboard of ideas for now. So I'm creating a directory for dashboard/ideas, and we'll have an index.ts, nope, index.svelte. We can write something here, and we have no obvious way to get there, but we can just hardcode dashboard ideas, and we'll make it here. Maybe through your user section you can go to the dashboard. Maybe that's something we should do to start with. So let's go to the profile page and have a link. At some point we should implement that all the start ideas should be here. That's an earmark for the future. The dashboard may also have stats to see how many people have started your ideas, for example. Are your ideas cool? So we're making up user roles here. And I guess everything has a gap. Cool. And as you see here in SvelteKit land, there is no magic like link component or anything like that. In order to route between places in your app, all you need is a vanilla, regular, old HTML anchor tag. So now we can go to our dashboard index page without needing to know the URL ourselves. But our dashboard doesn't show anything exciting. The idea would be in larger screens. On the left, I'd have a list of all the ideas that I've created, because those would be the ones that I can edit. And on the right, you'd have the classic placeholder, empty, like funny icon that says, oh no, no ideas found. Like, do you want to create one? Then you click that. But for now, let's fetch all of my ideas and iterate through them. And that means that we'll want a script tag, because we'll want my ideas array, and we'll be iterating through that. Didn't help. All right, that feels about right, but of course we don't want this to be an empty array. We want it to be a real array that we get dynamically, and we'll do that using a SvelteKit page endpoint or shadow endpoint. So as a reminder, our index.svelte will have a sibling index.ts. This is the same thing that we've done in our ideas.ts with the sibling ideas.svelte from the endpoints video that I keep mentioning, and we'll be doing a similar thing in that our index.ts will have a get method that's going to be a SvelteKit request handler. It's going to get our ideas repo. It won't be getting the URL because we won't be limiting the ideas, I don't think, for now. Instead, we'll want to get all ideas for users. So we'll go to our ideas repo that is implementing with Supabase, the Supabase client. And we can get some inspiration from, well, both our getAll and our star idea methods, which do need user ID. Let's create a getAll for user ID. It's gonna be an async method. I guess it's not gonna take anything other than user ID, which is gonna be a string. And the database response is going to be DB idea with favorites, but that's not true because we won't want the favorites here, at least not for now. We will want to see the ID, the snag, why not the name, the emoji, the description, but we don't want to do that pivot table inner join thing. And we want description to not be null. No, that is not true. We do want to order by this, but we don't want to limit, but we do want match. So that's a selector that I found out you can use with Supabase, and you give it a more traditional JSON style object where you can say it needs, the user ID needs to match the one we're giving you here. So DB idea would be this, but without profiles, I suppose. So now we can say that the idea with favorites is this, but extended. It also has the profiles there, which we're not actually using somewhere. I think I refactored this at some point. So if I remove this, does anything visibly break? Probably not. Which is cool. So we want this to be getAll by user, but of course we aren't directly using this. This is supposed to implement this interface. And in this interface, we haven't specified that now. We have a getAll for user ID. This takes the user ID string. So now that we've defined this type too, autocomplete will help. And all we need is the user ID, which is something we have put in the locals and in the session. Just to double check, we are doing the same thing, I believe, for this. Maybe not. Maybe for this.ts. Yes. So we do have the user in the locals, and this is how we get their user ID. And as a reminder, the user is in the locals because that's what we do in the handle hook here. Oh, interesting. We'll see what happens there in just a moment. But let's get the user, and then it's the user.id that we need. But I guess if we're not authenticated there, we want to early out. That's what I wanted to double check here. No user 401. It's a good idea. So if there is no user in the locals, it means we're not authenticated. So return a 401 for us, please. And we actually want to call that my ideas. So it will correctly populate the correct thing. And our ideas repo. So this, I haven't actually returned anything, classic. And what we do there is that we do a bit of mapping, I guess. Do we need to do mapping? Maybe not. What does our mapper method actually do? Just aliases the start property, but we don't care about that. So if we return this, we should be fine. Let's double check what an idea snippet looks like. Oof, it does have the start, which is not true. Just to keep things quick now, let's idea snippet, but without the start. All right, we should be happy there. So let's try to refresh. This should be my ideas, get all for user ID. And then in this, cool. So let's go to the terminal to see what we've done wrong. Reading length, there's in. Do we make it to this? Column DS user ID does not exist. That's correct. Let's go to our database. It's not a user ID. Let's go to our Supabase app to see what's happening there. Remind ourselves what our table looks like. So it doesn't have a user ID, it has an author ID. So here, if we say author ID is my user ID, then this should work again, hopefully. Yeah, it looks like it works. Which is quite cool. So response.data should be the array that we want, right? Looks correct. And here in the dashboard ideas, index thingy, my ideas, we're returning it as my ideas here. So what is crossing? We'll figure it out. Let's remove this. So this is happy. Let's JSON stringify my ideas. So this is undefined, of course, and I know why. It's because we didn't export it. If we don't export it, then SvelteKit is not gonna magically fill it. But now that we did, it's magically filled. Awesome, we did it. So what happened again with the magic of SvelteKit shadow or page endpoints? We have dashboard ideas index.svelte. It wants my ideas. It has my ideas as a component prop. Component prop is anything we export let. And it looks to populate this to its sibling endpoint. So we have a get handler here that checks if we have a user. If we do, it will feed that user ID to our get all for user ID helper method from our ideas repo and return my ideas here. And then we'll render them in a nice list. If it's all well and dandy, let's do some quick refactoring or slow refactoring. What we want is get all for author ID. It's realized. This is what I want to call this. And then we pass the user ID here, which is fine. And this has magically changed to author ID. We can manually change this to author ID. Cool. No need to console log anymore. And instead of saying I am the dashboard, I think let's have a look at our other routes. We can copy a couple things. Some meta descriptions. Cool, and maybe copy this as well. Maybe not, we'll see how this will look. But for sure we want this to be a bit bigger. And maybe we want the emoji as well. Just more fun. Maybe not. Maybe I'm overthinking it. All right. Next up, let's check. We've done this. Let's see. Select an idea to edit. The design sensibilities aren't going to be too great at this moment. We may come back to them and make them nicer. So, no dashboard layout for now. We did go over our existing layout. We did create our ideas index.svelte. I did go through CRUD, create, retrieve, update, delete, and indeed, by doing this, we've done our first retrieve, but then we want to retrieve the detail. So we click this, we want to go somewhere, who knows where. But currently we get 404 because there is no related page. We have an endpoint that magically gets the idea based on its slug, but now I think since this is more of an admin, not user-facing thing, we'll want to match the ID. So this will not be the slug, the human readable slug. This will be the ID that we want to match. So much like we did here, we can create a new.svelte route, but this route will be encased in brackets because we want ID to be a magic parameter that SvelteKit will capture for us. And this will have a single prop that will be an idea. And maybe the idea name, I guess, will be here. With the idea emoji, why not? The answer to why not is that we want to edit the idea, so we'll probably want to put this in forms. So maybe edit idea is what this is called. And then we'll have a form that will properly create in just a moment. But for now, the things that we should be able to edit will be emoji, name, and description. And the whole reason for this is that the way I've been creating ideas is I'm going to Supabase, and then from here I click insert row, and that's all working out well for me. But if I want to extend this to you, if I want you to be able to submit ideas, I'm not going to give you access to this. And even though I do like the usability of the Supabase dashboard, it's not that good. You don't need to see like the user IDs and the created ad. It's not that good if what you want to do is content management and use it as a content management system. So we can create a very rudimentary content management system, CMS, here. So this is crashing again because idea, nothing is populating it. What will populate it? Indeed, it's going to be another shadow page endpoint, sibling endpoint. So let's be inspired by how we've done the slug endpoint. I've left this as homework from our ideas, from our endpoints video released last week. But my phone is flashing, which means it's time to hydrate and drink some coffee to dehydrate, I guess, so keep things in balance. So we'll switch to my face view. I will keep reading the chat, shout out whatever you would like. I will be rescuing my good old shaker soon, next week when I go on vacation. So I'll be back with a big shaker, lots of ice, and we'll be able to make delicious, super hot, frozen, iced coffee. The way coffee was meant to be drinking in warm countries, I believe. But no one else in the Mediterranean except Greece, I think, they don't really make the Freddo, the cold coffee. It is, I don't know, what's every other country thinking? I hear it's good for engagement if you have a challenge. So now with the hit, I think maybe I'll try to do strip challenge of every 25-minute segment that I don't manage to do something. I need to remove articles of clothing until I'm in my swim trunks. And if I have to remove those, then I just close the stream and find a pool and dive in there. But maybe that's not for YouTube. Maybe that's for OnlyFans or something like that. So Mr. Masu comments on the CRUD system. And in regards to a comment section, which is very interesting, definitely in this app, and I'll go to the live version of this app and try to zoom in on it. We could over-engineer this to do everything that you may want to do in any app. And one of the things you may want to do would be to, even as a regular user, to focus into a specific idea and have a comment section. And there again, you'd need to create, retrieve, update, and delete comments. That's a common way to go about it. And I don't know who came up with the acronym CRUD. It's it's fun to say the least, but it's very easy to just ignore if you don't know. Oh, it's an acronym. What does it actually mean? It's a bit of a silly word, for sure. In preparation to this stream, walking around, I was thinking that it could even be like an Instagram style app where you follow people, you see their ideas, and you can like them, you can comment on them, that sort of thing. Only it wouldn't have ads every 2 posts or every 2 stories, and it wouldn't really be about being an influencer or something like that. All right. I switched to show the live app just to prove that it's not stuck on an error mode or something like that. But we'll get unstuck here. So as a reminder, we do have our index list view. We've retrieved all of them. And now when you click any one of them, we want to retrieve the information for that particular one, whichever one I clicked, which because we're doing it by ID and not by slug, I'll never be able to figure out unless I can see it in the title here. So it's doubly important we make this work. And instead of find by slug, I suppose we will want to make this shadow page endpoint be as ID, and then get our types from here, which will tell us that in the params we actually have the ID. And then instead of a find by slug, we should have a find by ID method too. Doing it by ID does allow us to be able to change the slug as well. So if we think that, oh, maybe we should use something else, we should get there. All right, so interface is correct. Our repo now needs to implement something new. So it's underscored by TypeScript. And it's gonna be kind of like this. It's not gonna have favorites or stars. So this won't exist. What am I doing here? I'm getting the profile, which I don't want to. Maybe I want to see who made this, but maybe not. Think about it. And we want to match again. I like this more than the equal parameter. ID will be getting from here. And then if there is no data, we do this. But if there is data, we return it, I guess. Yeah, we don't need any fancy mapping. Cool. And this we'll need to update our repo to say that it returns this or null. Now our repo should be happy. Ah, that's why I wanted this. No worries, we can add it again. I thought that would do it, but not quite. Profiles display name string. This reminds me of the other thing I was debating and thinking the other day. If I'm in control of the database, and really the database is meant to be consumed by a TypeScript front-end and backend, should I name my columns with the traditional Postgres and database naming scheme of snake case, or should I name them in the traditional JavaScript and TypeScript camel case scheme, which will save me from mapping stuff? But it doesn't really matter. It does mean that you need to map like this all the time. But hey, anyway, we can now attempt to use find by ID, and this should give us back the idea, or 404. It's there, we did it. And if we go to an idea that doesn't exist, we get the classic 404 page, which we can also make nicer one day. But for now, let's turn this into a form so we can actually edit the idea and change the name and the spelling and whatever else we want to do. Let me set the timer again, because I'll forget and work on this until I pass out, and that's not good for anybody. The more tired I am, the more I ramble. Cool. Shadow endpoint is giving the idea that we click. We probably need a go back button. But what we'd actually do is on bigger endpoints, we can keep the sidebar on the left, which would be very exciting. So you can quickly switch between all of them. And we'll get there. Now, let's create a form. So, we have created forms before, surely. We have a form in the idea card of all places. So if you remember this, if I click on something, it stars it, and if I unclick it, it unstars it. And no cool animation for the unstarring yet. I haven't been able to figure that out. Let me know what you'd like to see there. But the way you can do forms in SvelteKit is very cool, because you can even run them without JavaScript if you keep to a few simple things. Simple, as always, under quotes. So, our form will have a method, and it will be a post. You can argue that maybe it's like a patch because you're updating it, not creating a new one, but you can keep things simple and just use get, post, and maybe delete, and that's it, move on with your life. But you can also be pedantic and use patch and put, and space jump, my favorite HTTP verb. Look it up, I'm not joking. But for now, let's just use a post, and we are actually gonna post to this endpoint exactly. So we want to post to dashboard ideas slash the ID of the idea, which will make it hit this. And all of this stuff should be inputs. Let's double check our idea card. We have something to do after. I guess if we want to do a state type of thing where if you're submitting the form, you can show a spinner or something like that, we could do that. But for now, that's all we need. So let me bravely close everything and reopen this. And we need to style. So let's go dashboard, click anyone, go here. And we want this input. My editor tried to help me there, but failed miserably. Yeah, of course, because inputs are self-closing. It only failed because I failed my editor. initial value. Is this what it's called? Default value? Value. Just a value there. Svelte input value. Just thinking, like, will we need to like bind something? Feels like it. Is there like an advanced thing we want? Probably not. Cool. So bind value to idea emoji. Now we could over-engineer this and have something that ensures that this is an emoji, but I guess on the backend we could check. For now, it's on you to actually go and pick an emoji to use. Just be cool with it. I guess maybe it should be like a drop down with every emoji in the world. We have too many to do it like that, so probably not. The more straightforward ones should be name, and the description. I guess that's a text area, isn't it? Cool. Let's make this less horrible looking. Maybe everything could be super big. Maybe this is a flex container. Max length, is that a thing? Let's go to the docs. Max length. Yeah, the thing with emojis is that what is their max length? Some of them are made of many things. So let's try a family one. Yeah, so this eats up quite a few and doesn't look like you'd expect. So we may need to do something fancier for the emoji input. But for now, let's not worry about it too much. The name is straightforward. Just realized that on the login page, we do have something. Don't do anything with this. We have an input there. What did I do? Oh, just made it rounded in before. So Mr. Namazu asks, how do you send additional data with a form to the endpoints? I did a hidden input and bind it with the stuff I need the API to work with, and it feels so dirty. So feel less dirty. That's exactly what I did with the starring system, the starring functionality. So in the idea card, as I've shown, you can click the star and then it gets starred. But that is indeed a form that has a hidden input with not a bound value, because you never change the ID, but this ID is something that the backend only needs. The user doesn't need to know this, but the backend needs to know this. So I've just put it in a hidden input in the form. You could put it in the action here. So instead of hitting the ideas endpoint, I could be hitting the ideas like ID endpoint, but then SvelteKit won't know that my action here is making what it got from the ideas endpoint stale, so it wouldn't know to update and say, oh, now you've started this or you've unstarted this. By hitting the same endpoint, SvelteKit does know that you've done something here. You probably want to refetch the data, since the form that you have is hitting the same endpoint that I initially used to show all the ideas here. So the least dirty solution to make the caching work without problems is to have an input, a hidden input indeed. And I don't think there is like a problem with this. Like the user doesn't know, can have it be hidden here. Just make sure that even if the user were to mess with hidden inputs, it wouldn't actually mess with what happens on the backend. So with Supabase, we have the row-level security stuff. So if you try to be naughty and try to edit an idea that doesn't belong to you by changing the hidden input or whatever, the operation would fail because the row-level security wouldn't allow your user to be able to do that. So long as you ensure that if the user does mess with hidden inputs because they're being malicious, if that doesn't mess with your app and your backend code, then you're golden, not dirty. If messing with a hidden input, like through the inspector, may do something, then yeah, that's kind of dirty. But in this form, well, it probably won't need a hidden input, I don't think, unless we never allow them to do the changing of the emojis just to ensure that they don't pick something that's not an emoji. Anyway, yeah, this reminds me that they may want to mess with the slug. No max length for this one. All right, we need labels. This is not accessible. I'm trying to think whether I should do the label on top, label below. Maybe this is easier for us. The name is the same as the slug in this case. Let's find something else. Cool. For the text area. GitHub Copilot almost did it. All right, how long do we want the text area to be? I guess it's the rows. Don't want this to be too long. Maybe 8 rows is good enough for us. All right, that's the information that we want to mess with when it comes to an idea. And now we want a big button to hit. Is that a thing? Is it fancy button? What do I name it? It is big button. Where is my autocomplete? We got there. All right, so we're hitting dashboard ideas, idea ID, and our form has all of this. Emoji, the name, the slug, and this. And then it has a big button to click when you're done to update. And this update. Edit idea name. And I do have this open and we're talking about this idea. So if I refresh this after we run the form, it should update even on the live app, which will be quite cool. But in order for that to happen, we need to ensure that whatever happens in this action actually does what we want. So let's see what that idea.ts is doing. And on posts, it's doing nothing. It's only doing stuff on gets. So let's copy this. See, this is our post. We get the ID from the params still, but we also want all the form data. And the form data is going to be, we await. Svelte also gives these handlers the request. And I think it's request form data. And this should have all the stuff that we want. And to prevent users from being too cheeky and then adding input fields there and then they send whatever, we could explicitly say that dated idea parcel equals idea parcel equals form data get name is gonna be the name from there. Let's go in order, I guess. We have emoji. We have name. We have slug. And we have description. And we need to spell it correctly. We don't need to, but it would be appreciated. And now we can say we can create more stuff in our interface. I'm going to say update idea. The parcel. You can see that this is what we can pick from idea, and we want no, we don't want that. We want the slug, we want the name, we want the emoji, and the description. I was looking somewhere else and didn't see the autocomplete. We should probably still get the whole idea back. All right, so back to our repo. We want to update idea. Before I forget, this also needs to take the user ID. Or does it not? I think it doesn't. I take that back. Because our row level security should take care of that. Let's see if we have anything enabled on that matter. So start ideas. Ideas. Select access to all users. Great, everyone can read them. But now we want a new policy. Enable update access based on their email. Not quite. Why do they do this check twice? Alright, this is more what we want. Because it's a need. Why do they delete this? Right, this seems to be the thing we want. The expression is going to be auth. The auth user's user ID equals the user ID in the column. Not exactly that, but it needs to be for insert. So the auth user ID should be the author ID. So that's what we called it. For every role, I guess, this is where we can make that only contributors can do this. Or at least for the create, maybe the, it's for the update, damn. Oh, interesting. So the select has using expression, insert has with check expression, update has using expression and with check expression, and delete only has the using expression thing. Interesting. I need to refresh my Postgres knowledge. But let's try it again. So the expression should be this. I guess based on the other template, we want this on both. Why not? Let's add this and see if it's gonna work. All the ideas are from me, so they should work. All we need is to make the backend work. And we can also do a little sanity check here. So we may actually say actually get the emojis out and all of that. And have a little check. No emoji or no name or no slapper. Oh no. Wonder why that happened. Was it because I messed with the app in a different window? Maybe. Surely it doesn't have anything to do with the role that we made. Role change. All right, we're back. However, my phone is flashing again, so it's time for a little break. Clearly making mistakes when I don't make my breaks. Well, I always make mistakes, let's be honest. Maybe I make more. So let's quickly switch to my face view. Open the floor to comments. I think we have a couple more focus sections. I think we're getting through stuff. We've got the form ready to go. We need to write our API helper method in the repo to actually update the idea that we want. There we will find out, did we write our row level security thing correctly? Am I gonna be able to update my idea? And then we'll probably attempt to create a new idea. Not deleting an idea sounds boring, sounds like something you do after you've created an idea. So maybe we could do some of that. And it is looking like we won't do much with layouts. My hope would have been that using layouts, I can combine these two views that we have. So when I'm in the index page, I get this, which is great. And then when I click one, I get the detail. But using layouts, I would want to combine this, where in the index page, we see this on the left, on one of the sides. This is gonna be a sidebar. And on the right, you get a placeholder saying, select an idea from the left, or wherever this is gonna be. Then when you click, this remains in place, and you get the form on the right. I think that would be cool, but we may not get to it today. These sessions are also for me to get to unblock and figure stuff out, see how layouts work, see how the CRUD operations work with SvelteKit nowadays. And then maybe if there is enough interest, or if it's clear enough in my head, most of all, I would streamline them. I would extract a video out of them, write a script, shoot that video and publish that video. But videos do take a while for me to take. So I need to call my thoughts and see what people are really confused about, what I'm really confused about, unconfuse myself and make a nice video out of it. All right, let's jump back in. Update already should be hitting this post handler we have. We're doing a sanity check that all of these need to be full because all of these do need to exist. This also needs to be unique, so I guess at some point we'll want some validation for that front. Maybe we could be checking on the fly if this is available or not, but that's a feature creep if I ever saw one. And now we want our new method in the ideas repo. We want an update idea. Don't do that. Editor try to help me again, but I do prefer the fat arrow methods. And Let's have a look. Supabase update. Just give it a parcel. I imagine so. Yeah, without the mats, it will update everything, which would be a disaster. So let's write that first. Here. Change this to the old style. And this is inserting, this is deleting, so that's not really what we want. Let's copy any one of them. Can I select here? What do I get back? Can I tell this to return the whole thing? Returning. By default, the updated record is returned. Great. So I need to match ID. This makes me realize we could get the ID first. And I want to match the ID, and I want to update idea parcel. And not that. And these examples could be a bit better with what the data is. For example, I imagine, can I do maybe single on this? Who knows? Maybe TypeScript knows. This should only be touching one idea, updating one idea, since I'm doing the ID quality check. Who knows? And maybe return null makes more sense. All right, so here all right, so this crazy check we can make a bit better. Say type of is not string, which may allow you to do empty values, which we probably don't want. So maybe we can do both of them. All right, so now it should be happier. This is because when you submit forms, maybe the inputs, the values are not strings, maybe they are files, for example. So we're doing a little sanity check here to check if they're not strings, then we 404. And then we go to update idea, and supposedly this returns the idea. If we don't get an idea back, we 404, couldn't find the idea. But if we do, then we can return it in the body, the updated idea. And I guess we can, in our handler, can enhance this form. So this works even without JavaScript, but since we'll probably be using JavaScript, use our enhance form action, and for now say think results gets the form, no, gets an object, which is great. The data we get back, console log the data. I expect this is going to be an object that has an idea inside, which will be great. Let's see. All right, so we are in Socialify. Don't particularly like this idea. This one. Let's change it to something. Thinking about this too much. Socialify Plus. All right, so we've changed a few things here. Click update. No visual feedback that anything has happened. But did something happen in real life? It did. Update form worked. If I go back here, this has also been updated, which is quite crazy and quite cool. I guess this gets refetched. I wonder if this was really on the side as we talked before. Would it figure out that we've done something to mess with this specific thing? But for now, let's add a visual cue that this is happening instead of making people go back and forth to figure it out. So we can introduce some state. While it's updating, disable the button, disable the form so they don't like quadruple click. Ooh, do I need to pass this along? Extend this functionality. Let disabled equals false. Cool. And since we have the state, prudent. Cool, we can mess with the initial state just to have a look how our messages are gonna work. That's great. Maybe that's all we need. And success. And of course, we want something to be updating all of this. So while it's pending, state becomes updating. And after on result, state becomes success. Cool. So now let's go back to what we had. Super fast. Super working. This never gets dismissed. We could have it be like a snack or something that pops up like, but that's a story for another day. I forgot to do my little snack thingy. My focus noodle. It's a pretty cool app. Say so myself, but never too late to put it on. So ideas get updated, and we're talking about being able to create new ideas and delete ideas to finish the CRUD stuff. But also we could try to be fancy and have the ideas navigation be on the left, at least if we're on wide desktops. And I'm not sure which one I would rather go for, so I'll just think about it for a moment. Important to note that this wouldn't work if I wasn't the user that has created this idea, which maybe I'll be able to check if I log out and log in as another person. Which reminds me that we probably want an error state. And I think this has an error. What does it get? Error. I guess I wouldn't be able to see that because if I do log in with a different user, I shouldn't be seeing any ideas. Which also reminds me that we could double check how that works. Why not? So let's go through that journey relatively quickly. If I do log in another email, Too many cookies. Doesn't seem to let me do this. Wonder why. Oh well. Could it be because I don't have a display name on my other user? Would that ever affect things? Maybe. Right, I'm with this user again that we saw was working. I did try to log into with a different account, but it didn't quite work. So instead of me thinking about it for too long, I went with the approach of focusing on something else, hopefully more exciting. And what we want is a create new idea form as well, which we could get going with implementing in our index page. So maybe we have this, and we also have a section. That's new, that's interesting. That's very interesting. So that's not a slug, is it? It's a specific page. Okay, let's go with that. Let's go with whatever the GitHub Copilot autocomplete suggests. Maybe they know better. Maybe cool to show because we do have this magic brackets idea thing, but if we have an explicit route, it is going to take precedence. So if we do create a new .svelte, it's not gonna capture it as an ID, it's literally gonna go here. So this should not be exported. This could actually be a few things. So what we need is emoji, name, slug, description. And again, we could have some niceties here, like an emoji drop-down selector and a slug that gets pre-populated, but whatever you put on the name, and even does a sanity check here to see if that slug is indeed available, because if not, you will get an error when you try to save this. create a new idea for TechCat. It's gonna post two ideas. This makes me think, should that just be a route there? Probably not. Probably not. Let's keep going. And I suppose when the idea has been created, we'll want to move on to the edit page. So let's create a new one. We're in this thing we're creating. Don't want to say update. This. So this should return our data. Oh no, from the response. Sorry. Not response, okay. Then yes, this should work. And then we can navigate to our new idea to edit it if we want. All right, so similar to our edit form, but still a bit different. And it will be posting not to its own shadow endpoint, it will be posting to this, which maybe we won't want to do, but we'll see. Let's steal whatever we do for updating. We want to get the same things from data, but we also want the user this time because we want a nice early out. Say if no user, no dice. Can only do this if you're logged in. And instead of an update idea, we will be adding one more CRUD operation here, which will be create idea. Have this user ID. Looks like we were omitting nothing there, so no need to run it. And now to implement in our repo. Or null. Oops, this is the one that should be ordinal, since the order there. Right, we wanted to omit start. Of course, everyone wants to omit start here. We're doing it so many times. Terrible names, we'll need to fix them at some point. But better than omitting all over the place, because I'll never remember all the places we've done this. But I will remember to change this terrible name. Right, this is happier. And we want an insert. Let's refresh our memories. Create, CRUD. C, where is the retrieve? It's F, it's CRUD. Modify, interesting. Upsert, you can either update or create, interesting. Anyway, what we want is to insert. Does it work without an array? Yeah, we don't want that. I guess we'll find out if we need anything else. Create idea. Idea parcel user ID, author ID. I guess this should be in the idea parcel. Nah. Insert. Does this also take an array in reality? Yeah, parcel or parcel array. So idea parcel and author ID is author ID. DB area. This should have author ID. Indeed. So now it should be funny. Fine. Don't know if it is funny. And this should always be defined. If it's response data or null, can I do this all over the place? I guess so. So I can do the or null trick again. And then actually go here. In our dashboard ideas index.ts, give the idea parcel and give the user ID. And if no idea, it's probably a 401 problem. If all of that works, we're golden. No params. Let's see. The last thing we may need to do here is more row level security. So for the ideas, this should be renamed. Yeah, so this is insert. This is update, and we want a new policy for insert. Any authenticated user for now, but we may do it according to a user's role. You could do it based on the email. If you have my email, you can do it. Cool. So anyone can insert ideas. It's our role level security rule. Is that true? Hit me with an idea if you got it. So that may be a fun idea. I don't know. The point of it is, but don't follow this, is will we be able to do it and create a new idea? Something went wrong. Happens. So our server create ideas on the function. Ugh. Don't you hate it when you forget to save a file? It cleared everything too. And go back. No. I try again. And flesh out the idea later. Yeah, create it, and we make it to the update page as well. That would have been even more amazing if I did it first try. But if we go to the ideas, you see that we have this new thing here. Pretty cool. You can even star it and unstar it. What happens if I delete an idea that someone has starred? Does this crash everything? I don't know if I have rules for this, but let's go to edit it. So if you can't get enough of your Tesla recordings, if you think they don't do their majestic space shuttle rocket launches often enough, then you can have this app, build this app, and you can crowdsource this. Like you request, I want to see a countdown, I want to see smoke and fireworks now. And then someone that's in the gig economy of this app sets things up within 5 minutes, gives you 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. That'd be cool. All right, so creation and delisten should be working. Pretty cool. And that was right on our focus noodle as well. So I will take a quick break and then we do our final one, and we discuss if you want to see the listen, or if you want to try and see having the navigation list on the left and then selecting and having the form on the right while still having the navigation on the left. I don't know which one you'd prefer. But a couple of minutes to make that call and then we dive in. Gotta say, it's been warm, but the cloudy ceiling fan is doing some work. And hopefully it's off screen from my microphone enough to not be annoying to you. I guess we also had the bonus feature of the only allow for specific roles, which would be fun to do. So we did explain create, retrieve, update, delete. We did create our ID endpoint, we did update it, we did create it, we haven't deleted it. We could do like the layout stuff, we could do the deletion of an idea, and we could protect the whole thing for only a user in a particular user role to be able to do this, which would also make us create a role here as well, and only allow inserts for users in the contributor role, or whichever name we want to give the role we make up. These are the options. These are the things we've done. These are the options for our probably last chunk. Let me know, or let me know anything else you want to talk about, or I'll just go for one of them. Five, 4, 3, 2, 1. Lift off. I think that's a pretty cool idea, by the way. But I think I will try to do the user roles. So, not knowing much about what Supabase recommends lately, I think what they recommend is to use our public... Oh, it's this guy I was trying to log in previously. So they have a hidden schema for auth and stuff here, where you can see various users, hopefully nothing too crazy. We have a public schema, and they suggest having a profiles, a table or similar, which exposes the public facing information that you want users to have. So I'm exposing the ID because I need that for other reasons, to actually be able to edit and update and do all of that stuff easily. A display name for a user, create a time, because why not, but not the email, for example. So that shouldn't be public information. That shouldn't be something we saw. And this ID does reference the ID from the auth table. So a logged in user has an ID. It's referencing that one. And that was the problem with the profile. Like my other users don't have profiles in the profiles table. I see. All right, that's a bug to fix in the future. Maybe that's why I haven't merged this code. In any case, we now want to introduce something new in this table. We want to say that this table also has a role, and I think I'll just make it text. You could have users have multiple roles. You could have this reference another table, like a roles table, and you have enums in all the roles. I think that's a very like very enterprise solution, which is to say too complicated for what it needs to do. So I'm not going to do that. Default value could be not user, like human present. I'm trying to think that the contributor is going to be the cooler role. Would that be the coolest one? What would be the default one be? Fan? Guest? Fan. I have the ceiling fan here. I'll think of a better name for this, for sure. But we're doing it. My role is going to be a contributor. And while we're here, these guys are just misspellings of my email. Hastily written. Magrippy could be my sister's surname, not mine. So this person with this ID, copy this. If we go to our public table, profiles table, this person smothering priv retro, what's it called? What did we variant, of course. Loki is a bit further back, but still cool. And this person is gonna be just a fan. So there should be a database trigger that I should be able to set up where every time you do go through the login flow for the very first time and you don't have a user in your profiles, it should be creating this for you, and maybe with a random display name or based on your email, something like that. And you are able to edit your display name, but because if that doesn't work, it looks like this whole thing falls apart for now, the login stuff. In any case, our hope is that I will create a rule that says I can only create if I'm a contributor. So how do we figure that out? Let's focus noodle. Our last one. Got some free time to work with as well. So we should have a user somewhere here. Our definitions of the app. Let's say that the user has a role, and the role is a string. And we know the role is either fan for now or contributor. And we only want contributors to be able to see this button. And if they manage to do shenanigans, then our database should stop them, our rules. So here, it's using undefined. Postgres. See no equality there, which makes me uncomfortable. User roles, policies, role, custom role. We don't really want any of that. All right, let's delete that insert. It worked for us. Now we want to do something new. This is what we did before. Okay, always check this. Is there any magic that I can do here? And when I say here, I mean in the auth table. So many things. Hopefully nothing to leak. Just thinking, where can I save the role if not in the public profile? Let's do the easy thing first and say that on the index page, yet again, we're saying, or create a new one, but we only want to say this user role. That's never a thing, because we need to make it a thing. We were in our app definitions and we're saying that a user does have a role. Here. And on our index hook, I guess what we want is our refresh session and find by access token. All of these methods are running find by ID at some point. And what we also want here is the role. So if we manage ninum, it's fan or contributor. So if we do all of that, if we save this, in this page, we could also say we should also guard it like we guard the profile page if you're not logged in, by having a load method. Saying if there is no user, then go back to the login page. It should be this. Contributor. Can do this. All right. So all of this should change nothing from what appears like this, but I will brave once again to log in with my other email account. So while I'm logged out, we should see that dashboard ideas doesn't get me there. 401. It should redirect me, I guess. Maybe it's trying to do the magic first. Oh well. We'll get to that at some point. But I won't be unauthenticated for too long. I will be logged in soon because I'll go to my email account, click the link, and then the refreshing should get me there. And you'll see that you have no ideas, that because I'm the other user who has created no ideas here, they don't see any. And they can also not create any, which is quite unfortunate. So I don't know what I was thinking with this flow, but hopefully it shows something that you are able to do. Autocomplete failed. I guess the idea is that maybe you were, this worked in a subscription basis to be a contributor, and then your subscription expired and you can only see and edit your existing ideas but not submit new ones. Let's say that's the case. It's very harsh. Beneath there. Right, so this person cannot create any ideas. Let's quickly go to mess with their public profile. if this person was also a contributor, then they get the create a new one button. And here we could also do the sanity check that we're talking about to allow for them to be able to create ideas. So they made it to this page somehow. Let's make them back to being a fan. And what I would love at this point would be a new row level security. Insert. But we do want to be authenticated. All words, all stuff. This is what we had before, just that they are authenticated. But what we want is more similar, where their email is something specific. But what we actually want is the authenticated user's ID, get that to look into our profiles table and see if their role is actually a contributor. So maybe this is like the starting point. Their auth ID. How would you ever inner join this? I don't really know. I will fall back to the authenticated insert here. Just for now. To be able to add the ideas as I please, and then look up how, I guess the rule is going to be how you do it in Postgres. So I'll try to have a look and see what's the SQL that you need to write to join from two different tables, from two different schemas, do the check that we want. In any case, let's review what we've done. We protected the route, but I'm giving like a half of a check mark because we didn't do the row level security here. We didn't delete the idea, but that would also be something that would need some row level security for. Currently, no one can add this. Maybe this will have a, yeah, so this one. So use this template and author ID. So this one should be straightforward. The authenticated user has an ID. If it matches the author ID for the idea they want to delete, it will actually delete them, or else you get an error. And for now, I'll leave it to your imagination on how we would be implementing the actual button to click to delete the idea, the trash can icon button. And that's it. We hit a lot of things today. I think the next coding and seal would be on Thursday, right before my next vacation. Go back to the face. Go back to the chat. Just in case. I hope you had lots of fun today. I had lots and lots of fun, but it's time to put more ice in drinks and then drink them and rehydrate for good. I hope your weekend is going amazingly, and I hope you will have an even more amazing week. Last chance for comments. If not, don't feel pressure. It's all good. I'm having a good time doing this. Clearly not edited at all, very unlike the videos that I usually do, where I do prepare the script. I do quite a few takes to get the very fast output that you see. I do type fast sometimes, but I do make mistakes as well very, very often. And I definitely think slowly, or take my time thinking is a better way to say it. So if you see those videos, like the last endpoint video where in 23 minutes we went through all of the endpoint magic that SvelteKit does, the page endpoints and the standalone endpoints, and you were like, wow, this was so fast. In reality, it takes much longer, as it did today. So this can be your imposter syndrome cure. It can take way longer. If you thought that even today I was fast, that also doesn't really matter. By coding faster, you save a few minutes, like you save a few hours. But by thinking about problems and knowing how they work, you can save your company or your idea days, weeks, months. That's definitely more important in the startup world than being able to write more lines of code faster. All right, enough preaching for me. Yet again, thank you very much for today. I will switch to my OBS software to turn the stream off. Hope you had a lovely time. I'll see you around.